Welcome back to
Nerds!
I'm your host, Zackary. With me is joined my other lovely host,
Lucas.
and today Lucas will be needlessly, endlessly ranting dumb shit about
The defense of Paragons.
a character style. A character... What is it? How would you define?
It is a character
Like
concept.
ideology?
It's a way to make a character.
Yeah. Paragon can kind of be a lot of things, but we're
Yes.
specifically talking about character... Ideology is the way a character is written and then portrayed.
Yes. But of course, before we get into that...
Weekly updates.
Weekly updates. And then
How are
weekly
you?
sessions. I am doing pretty good.
Good.
All things considered. A lot of work, of course.
Yeah.
Father's Day was hell.
Oh yeah, Father's Day.
Yeah. But it was nice. I did a really nice thing for my stepdad.
Which we've talked about.
Which we
off
talked
pod.
about. It was very sweet.
It's very sweet.
And then other than that, been working on more N.E.R.D.S stuff, which we've been working on a lot lately.
The last day and a half.
The last day and a half, honestly.
That will be picked up in the mic.
Yes, it will.
We might have to pause and throw her in the room.
Excuse the cat in the room.
Oh,
She's fine.
She's fine for now.
Yeah, but we have been working a lot on that. Specifically, like abilities, which we're now calling flares. And
change the way the system is both played and its numbers.
Yep, for the 5th time.
Yeah,
and have just been keeping on. It's been, that's my baby.
Yeah.
So I've been having a lot of fun messing with it.
It's been very fun to play around with and make essentially small feats and perks that people can take and they start out with that are very specialized but also very broad. And you can kind of go, you can go really, tight route with this, or you can kind of just choose a lot more variable feats.
Very skill tree-esque, honestly.
Yes. It'll become more skill tree when we start putting in requirements and start getting masteries of those skills.
Yes. And then also having level requirements as well.
Yeah.
Because that's definitely something I want.
Some of them, the critical ones, I think should be level 2 or 3.
Yeah,
just a
don't get them
little bit.
immediately.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it'd be interesting.
Yeah.
And again, other than that, playing games, chilling out, having fun.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Trying to think. My week's been pretty good. Dragon Realms was really fun. We did our big sewer fight, our sewer boss fight, which I was so proud of. You guys fought a black pudding in the shape of a large, serpent creature, and then some toxic sludge.
That's what killed them sludges.
Some toxic sludge aids to help.
I didn't get touched.
You didn't get to do anything.
No.
The struggle of movement restrictions in a party where 3 of the party members have pretty much free movement.
And then there's me.
There's you trying to jump over sewer gaps. Me alright. I have one item that I've made that I think you'll enjoy that you might buy.
I'm excited. Especially since we got a lot of money.
You want to know the name of them? They're the Shrieking Greaves.
Shrieking Greaves. Interesting.
It's a very fun item I've made. I spent Saturday night, or maybe it was Sunday night. I edited the N.E.R.D.S pod that I was doing, and I spent a lot of that night making some fun magic items, upping some of the magic items in the stores, and then I made a lot of people.
Very exciting.
A lot of people. But yeah, some of the magic items I'm really excited about, and they're costly because we're hitting that point where, I can throw common magic items at you guys to buy, but at a certain point, unless they're really you guys don't really care. You're actually selling a lot of those items I gave you in the beginning, which is what my plan was give you a bunch of shitty, weak, common and uncommon magic items, and then towards the halfway mark, you guys start to sell them for more better things. So we're hitting the point where it's you guys have some money now, and these items you guys could buy and everybody could kind of use them, but we'll see who wants them, who gets them,
who wants what.
And I'm still struggling with weapons. You know, I've made your guys' weapons, so I'm still hesitant on giving you guys magic weapons, because that's kind of
very fair. We kind of have our own magic weapons.
Kind of have your own magic weapons, and so far I think everyone's been pretty good about them, which is why I'm giving more, like, armor, jewels, you know.
The fact that we have, like, specific weapons to us is, like, I think we're fine, you know? Especially since they're upgrading.
And I've made sure to talk to each one of you guys and be like, I talked to Kione's player and was like, hey, you're the only person that doesn't have one. What do you want? Like, I've talked to each person, you know, your character, Ajax, wanted, like, you wanted to deal with Battlemaster maneuvers without having to go into fighter. I was like, that's easy, that's fun. Nathaniel kind of just wanted some more damage and wanted to deal more with, like, lava, fire, so I've given him some of those abilities. And then Fleabag, our rat folk druid rogue, was like, he just was wild shaping a lot. So I was like, because we know him as a player, he's very indecisive at times. So I was like, I have seen you do a lot of wild shape. I kind of can go that route and give you essentially almost like circle of moon druids without having to go into it. You know, summoner, wild shape kind of thing. And so when I talked to Kione's player, I was like, what do you want? And they were like, oh, I want to do more ice-based things because I'm an ice genasi and I only feel like I have one or two things. But I also want to deal with, like, movement and terrain. And I was like, easy. Like, that's such a clear path to go down. So I gave them, you know, an ice enchantment, which deals more ice. And I've also given the ability of them to do essentially a weaker ice storm.
Which is so cool.
Which is cool. To, like, help restrict movement or restrict the combat. But they also get to do more ice damage. So it's been very fun. And I've almost kind of enjoyed being like, I don't really have to do weapons. If I find cool magic weapons, then it can just be used to, like, give me ideas for what I can do for you guys instead of being like, oh, here's the Sunblade, here's a Flame Tongue, and it kind of get boring.
Yeah, for sure.
But I can go like, oh, here are the Shrieking Greaves, like here's specialized armor, or like here's a really cool, you know, you've got a stone. Oh, there's a bird in our bird feeder.
Nice.
You've got a stone that gives you essentially like a really weak Ioun Stone version. So I've been enjoying that much more, but we're starting to get to the points in the story that I'm really excited about once we come back and do it on Thursday. But yeah. Dragon's was really fun. Kind of spent the weekend not doing much and then planning a little bit. What else? We have two big things, which I'm excited about. We've decided, I still need to talk to the friend group. I'm going to talk to them today, but we're going to go to the Ren Fair on September.
Right, yes.
And we'd like as much people that want to come. So it's still a couple months, so hopefully you guys can take off. We'll have to see who was coming, if anyone is coming, other than just me and my boyfriend. And then, like, figure out car rides and all that. But
for sure, I
want to go to Ren Fair again, and a lot of our friends haven't been to Ren Fair. So I was like, oh, Ren Fair. Yes.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. And then I figured out that my favorite perfumery, which is... It's a weird name. Is this them? It is. Majika. Majika. M-A-J-I-K-A-H.
Majika.
I'm assuming Majika.
Okay.
Majika Perfumery is a perfumery we found at the Renaissance, and it's where I bought my little drum of like oil, vanilla oil, and they told me then, like, if you bring this drum back, you get a refill. It's cheaper than buying a new one. And so for the last month or so, I was like, when I go back, I want to buy a lot because I'm not going to be able to come back to this Ren Fair. We're moving. I'll go to other Ren Fairs, but not this one specific. So I was like, I really want to get an ounce of this perfume, which is a lot. My drum is, I think, 1/4 of an ounce. And so I was like, when I go back, I want to refill it, and I also want to get like an ounce of this version, and I want to get like 2 more. I want to do, because the one I got is a very woodsy sandalwood vanilla, an oud vanilla.
Yeah.
But I was like, I want to get like a rich, like brown sugar molasses vanilla.
That's a good idea.
Like a deep one, and then I want to find like another cool one. Essentially, almost stock buy to have for years. And I was like, well, let me look them up. And apparently, it has a website which you can just buy their perfumes online. And I was like, holy shit!
That's very sweet.
So, and it's not that expensive. An ounce of perfumery, which is kind of like this big bottle, is only $40. Which some of the other ounces that I've seen have been up to $90 to $100.
That's not bad at all.
The Drom I bought, it was like $16. Which I paid like $20 for another one for like a different company. So I was like, it's really good pricing. It is just oil, which I prefer. It's not typically perfume is
it's like spritzed.
Well, it's mostly alcohol.
I didn't know
it's
that.
a concentrate. There's I know N.E.R.D.S, Toilette, and then there's N.E.R.D.S Parfum, or Parfum. Toilette is like cheaper because it's like 8% perfume, and then the rest is alcohol. And then like the Parfum is like 20% alcohol, or 20% perfume, the rest is alcohol. So it's like a higher concentrate of alcohol. But I know perfume is kind of the cheapest because it's, I don't know if it's like more alcohol. But it's always alcohol based, and that's what allows you to like spritz it.
I didn't know that.
And so, but what I really like is
oils you can kind of just dab.
So it's there's no alcohol in it. It's just oils, which can get super expensive based on
like the type
of oils. But what I've learned from Majika is that they're not cheap oils. They smell really great, but they're not super expensive, so you can kind of do a lot, for $16, $40. You're not, these aren't hundreds of dollars of rich, perfume. Let's see. Perfume is a 15 to 40% concentrate, and it lasts longer, but usually is less like intense. Then there's perfume. N.E.R.D.S perfume is 15 to 20. It lasts 5 to 6 hours, and then N.E.R.D.S Toilette is 5 to 15, and then it lasts only 4 to 5 hours. So like the less you get, kind of almost in a sense, the stronger they are, but the quicker they die because it's mostly just alcohol. But it's very interesting, and so I was very excited about it to figure out that you can order stuff online. And holy shit, I'll show you real quick. Their oil list.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's just
holy
oils
crap.
on
It's scrolling
oils.
and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. Holy moly.
Yeah.
That is...
It's insane. So when you order, you just choose... either you have a custom mix, like if I were to order another one, I would essentially be like, hey, can I get an ounce? And then I have specifically 3/4 woodsy vanilla, 1/4 sandalwood and oud. Like that's my mix. But when you choose, you can just choose to do all of one, all of the other one, and it's just lists. Which is why I was like, so that brought me into my next thing is I was like, well, maybe I'll do it at Rent Fair, but I don't know if I want to spend like an hour or 2 hours just kind of bugging them. They have a physical store, and the physical store is pretty close to us, 2.5 hours away, which I was like, holy shit, because just because someone goes to a Renaissance fair nearby doesn't mean they live nearby, especially looking at Majika's like list of things. They go to Texas, they go to Minnesota, Oklahoma, so I was like, if I were there and I found these people, I wouldn't assume they lived near me. But they live, 2.5 hours north. So me and Theo are going to, I'm going to make an appointment one week, and on Wednesday we're going to drive up there early in the morning, and I'm just going to literally get, I think when I go to Rent, I'm only just going to refill it, and then when I go to their store, essentially make, 3 perfumes. I want to get, a 1 ounce of my big one that I have. I want to get a 1 ounce of this dark, rich vanilla, and then they have one called Vampire Blood, which I don't know what it smells like, but I want to do something else, a different smell. I don't know what it is yet, but yeah, we're gonna go drive up there to their store and do that sometime. I don't really know. We don't have a set date, but it's ooh. The reason I started getting into this, and I will end this tangent here after this. I work at Goodwill. Yeah. We see a lot of things come in. We had 3 Arabic perfumes come in.
What?
Full Arabic, not it's made here and it just is designed. These are they were in full Arabic, and one of them was a gorgeous looking bottle, but it was an oil perfume. It had it's very classic in Middle Eastern that you have a type of oil with a dipstick. They have it for eyeliner. But it had this glass rod that you rub on yourself. For some reason, Americans prefer roll-ons, but they do it where it's the bottle, and then you've got a stick that dips in, and you use that.
I love it.
I didn't quite like the smell because it was very grape and sweet,
citrusy.
Not citrusy, grape, sweet grape. There's almost no citrus in it. Almost in a good way, a rotten, musky grape. It was very sweet, very musky, very fruity, but not citrus. But I was and then some dude bought all 3.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I was damn, fuck. But it got me in that mindset of I've always loved these designs, so I bought, and it should be here today, is what I was talking about, an oil, container. And it's this, I think almost Catholic style, octagonal gold with red. And I was oh, it's so cool. And then I started thinking about perfumes. I was I want more. So that's kind of been that was my week, was I want to go here. I want to buy, and I bought these over the weekend, the little perfume holder, and then I found their website over the weekend. So I was oh, perfumes. But yeah.
I love that.
Little perfume rant, which I always love. Other than that, what's your weekly obsession?
This should probably not come to any surprise. My weekly obsession is a little book series I've been reading called Heartstopper. It is very, very lovely. You and your boyfriend introduced it to me. And it's just, for people who don't know, it was I believe a Tumblr comic series.
Webtoon
Tumblr comic that they have now physical books of. Which is a full comic series.
Web comic and graphic novel.
Yeah.
So it started out as a little web comic.
And it is just one of the most lovely little things, filled with so much love. It is about...
I have the description right here if you want me to read it.
For sure.
Charlie, a high-strung, openly gay overthinker, and Nick, a cheerful, soft-hearted rugby player, meet at a British all-boys grammar school. Friendship blooms quickly, but there could be something more. _? And that's the Webtoons description.
I love it. It is so sweet. Nick is just a big bubbly thing of just support, and
he's the golden retriever.
He is so the golden retriever, but he's not dumb.
Oh,
they make that explicit. Is he's very smart. And then Charlie is so needing that support. He's such a traumatized boy.
He's so anxious. He's the black chihuahua that's just shaking on the couch.
Honestly. And they're so meant for each other.
It's very cute.
It's very cute.
You need to watch the TV series.
I want to,
it's
really
so
bad.
Good. And It is Joe Kidman, I think, is the guy that plays Charlie. A perfect decision, and then Kit Connor.
Oh, that's so sweet.
It's not Joe Kidman. Who is it? It's Joe Heartstopper. Joe Locke.
Joe Locke.
I will show you him. Just a perfect choice
perfect
for Charlie.
I've seen him as an actor. He's a good actor.
There's Ben. And then you've got Kit Connor, which that's a very weird outfit choice.
You know, not exactly how I expected them to look, but I like it. It's not bad.
He looks a bit better when it's like Heartstopper. He got beefy over this last summer.
Wow.
This is a
well, he's supposed to be a rugby player, so that makes sense.
Oh yeah, and then Heartstopper, because in Heartstopper he looks a bit more like this is him in the first season.
Aww.
I want him.
They're very sweet.
He's and even in real life he's such a golden retriever.
But yeah, no, like, gotta love that golden retriever energy. Gotta love that teen angst.
He definitely deals with his own. You know, he's not.
Oh yeah, he's got his own trauma and stuff that he goes through, and Charlie's very supportive as well.
Yeah. Because I like that the author didn't go, he's a golden retriever, he's dumb, he's got no issues, and then, you know, Charlie's the only one with issues. So it's like, no, they both deal with their own thing. You know, they've got different personality types, but
they compatible. They're very compatible. Right now, I have made it to book 4 out of the 3. They're very easy to read since they're graphic novels, but again, just very wholesome, sweet. Times where it makes me go, oh, poor boys. I love their friends as well. I think their friends are really nice. The fact that they're all like, you know, there's a lesbian couple in there who are incredibly sweet and were the first ones that they actually like told that they were out. And then, you know, I also love that they had a whole thing with Nick kind of really figuring out his like identity. You know, that like. As somebody who's kind of gone through the same thing, you know, it was very, like, comforting.
Yeah.
And him being, like, bisexual made a lot of sense.
Yeah. Because Charlie in these series really deals with internal issues, while Nick deals with social issues.
Yeah, external social.
Yeah, because he's pretty good in his own mind, but he deals with... I'm not going to spoil anything, but he deals with a lot of external social, like... hardship, while Charlie is just all internal, because he's openly gay when the book first, like the first chapter. Yeah. So he's already kind of dealt with all the external issues, but that has led to a lot of internal issues that you deal with later in the books.
Yeah, and I just Teo and I think her name is Ellie, are incredibly sweet. Ellie's a trans girl. And Teo was like her first like real friend, and then it blossoms into a nice little romance.
I would have a crush on Teo if I was in high school with these guys. Yeah. I mean, everyone would have a crush on Charlie, but that's just Charlie.
Yeah. No, it's a very like, again, it's just a very wholesome comic. So wholesome. I really love it. You know, the open expression of love, the fact that there are definitely some people who are not okay with it. Yeah. But the fact that there are enough people in there that are okay with it, the fact that some of the teachers are also gay is amazing.
It's real life.
It's very real life, and it's very sweet. I really loved the science and the art teacher getting together while they were at the school trip. Spoilers. It was very lovely. Yeah. And a little unexpected, but then when it happened, I was like, this makes sense. Yeah. Just very open flirtation. So yeah, that's my weekly obsession. I really love it. I want to continue it. So
you got 2 more books.
I got 2 more books, and then I got a show.
Then you got a show. The show, I think, is released at season 3, or is going to.
I think it's going to.
Heartstopper season 3.
But yeah, I highly recommend to anyone who wants to give it a shot. If you're a little queer, it's got, you know, that kind of fun stuff that help that can help you maybe feel more comfortable about it. I know that Charlie's sister is Arrow Ace, and I was like, hell yes. Because we don't get enough of that representation at all.
I love her. She appears out of nowhere. She's hey.
Completely.
You're like, oh!
Yeah, he's like, oh.
It's one of my favorite character, designs, is the people that are just so unbothered by anything, and then just appear out of nowhere in the most, random of times. They're like, hey, you shouldn't be here. You're like, oh, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm. And she's super cool and supportive as well. Yeah. You gonna tell him? You're gonna tell him you love him?
Alright.
Alright.
Season 3 comes out in October.
Mm-hmm.
October 1st.
Sweet. Give me plenty of time.
Oh
yeah, plenty of time to get me caught up. So, your weekly obsessions?
The Mighty Nine. I have started Campaign 2 again. I am finishing episode 7. We've just re-met Shikasta.
Oh.
God, I love Shikasta. And I'm forgetting just how much I love that series. Mm-hmm. And the more I listen to it, the more it's been a very weird time right now, which is we're in the halfway mark of this year.
Mm.
3 of the 6 members of this group is leaving at the end of the year to move to New York. So it's been very parts of me are getting, overwhelmed and very anxious, and so I don't want to do anything. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to plan for D&D. I don't want to do D&D because you don't want to deal with it. And then the other part of me has just rewatching Campaign 2 of Critical Role, which is a group of friends telling a really crazy story. And so then the other part of me is like, I only have 6 months. Let's make this the coolest story I can make. Let's just plan the shit out of it and do some cool ass things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been very good.
Yeah.
Because the more I listen to it, the more I'm like, there's a reason I enjoy D&D. And even though it sucks knowing we have a time limit, that is not just a self-imposed, hey, maybe this campaign's only a year and then we move on to the next campaign.
Mm-hmm.
It being just well, we got 6 more months until it ends. Until we all move. I know me and you are going to keep in touch.
For sure.
And we will always do online things.
No doubt.
No doubt.
And hopefully we can get the group to, do online stuff with us.
Yeah, possibly. It's just the fears. Once it moves, what happens?
It's the part of growing up that's probably the scariest. Is people come in and out of your life, and relationships change, and
you keep the people that want to stay. And remember the people that walk a different path.
Yeah.
So it's been very heartfelt because I love Campaign 2 so much, but it also has just put that, I don't want to say fire under me, because it's not I need to do this, but it's put the passion back in to see, to see Matt do this for his group of friends, to tell a cool story. It's put that passion back in to be well, I am doing this for fun. And while, sometimes it can feel I have to plan another session. Mm-hmm. It's the fun part to we're getting to explore a cool world that I've mostly made in a cool design or concept in this world with Dragon Kings and very interesting and lovable characters.
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't want to plan after work, but I want to tell a cool story, and so I want to, and I want to make cool NPCs and cool things. So
it's a lot of interesting developments. And no matter what, I know the story's going to come out really cool.
It's definitely taken a turn in my head a few times.
Mm-hmm.
I'm no longer doing it, so I don't mind telling you. But I was going to originally have Crimda Prime. It is a city beneath Crimda.
Oh, interesting.
That you guys are going to get to and explore. But at a certain point where I was like, there's no need. Crimda is big enough. Crimda has enough. Trying to introduce a second part of the city that's supposed to be really massive also. I was like, there's no need. It just feels like a hindrance to the story instead. Mm-hmm. And I can focus more on, instead of trying to be all right, at this margin, you guys get to go down and that's where the main story comes. I was like, no, why can't I just do it in the main city and focus on it?
Yeah.
So the story's had a lot of development like that, which has just been ideas I wanted to do, and then kind of realizing, okay, maybe I don't need to do that, or maybe that's a different way of going about it. the main arc in this story, which I won't say, was going to have a completely different introduction.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I'm not going to lie, I forgot about it. Like, you guys got to the city, and I forgot to do it. And so then I went, well, now it's going to be weird if I do that. Mm-hmm. And just been like, you guys didn't see it. So I was like, fuck it. What if I do the other option I was thinking about and get to, and then it's an actual, like, you know, something that I won't forget and get to do.
I love N.E.R.D.S so far. It's a very interesting city. It's huge, a lot of people in it. It's, you know, you can tell the people are kind of almost, like...
Two birds. Oh, and one's red.
Oh, that's very sweet.
I don't know if that looks like a card. I don't think... What, 3 birds? I've never seen 3 birds here. 4!
So many birds.
Holy shit! The most I've ever seen is 1.
So many birds.
Yeah, so N.E.R.D.S was my, like, hey guys, we're going to start on the outskirts of a city. You're going to get to the city, and it's going to be, like, a little bit, but I don't really want to do much here because it's just kind of a trade city. And then we're going to get to the big city, you know? Like Critical Role, they start in Allfield, they get to... No, they start in, like, Tristanwald, they get to Allfield, and then they get to Zadash.
Yeah.
Like, Allfield was my, like, Gordagai. It was like, yeah, it's technically a capital, but it's really just the big, like...
Trade city.
Trade stop.
Which most of us were like, fuck this city.
Because, yeah, it deals with trade, so it's just capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, wait till we get to N.E.R.D.S, because N.E.R.D.S is a city of craftsmanship, of trade, like... Yes, there is commerce, but it is filled with people wanting to do their life craft. And then sell them, you know, to continue living.
Which a lot of us respect.
Yeah. And you guys have met some allies. You guys have not so far met any enemies yet.
Not yet.
You guys have
we could have made an enemy.
Yes, you guys have risked making enemies.
Mm-hmm.
But you guys have just made an ally with Toba Hogpen. Yep. A halfling in the Maga Kamara, the gnome, dwarf, halfling society that's within the city.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have yet to learn some things about Toba, which I'm excited to open up.
I'm excited to learn. I mean, so far he's becoming a very valuable ally just because we need to get into the Magnum Kamara. So.
I will tell you this just because I find it funny, and we're going to get to it. Toba is very disliked.
Oh, really? Hilarious.
Toba is very greedy and very money-centric. So he's not hated amongst the Maga Kamara. It's just that kind of like,
he's looked down upon.
A little bit of like, Toba, that's who you chose friends with, the greedy, like, arcanist.
Hey, we didn't know.
But he's very nice. That's his dual-edged sword, is that he's a very nice person. And, you know, you guys... That fun story element where you essentially got to bypass his normal social walls, which is a greedy noble wizard, and essentially went, I just saved your son.
Yeah, we saved his son, and like also saw him as most vulnerable.
Yeah, so you guys essentially just bypassed all the barriers he's ever put up and have just truly met who he was, which is like, my son's missing. They took him. I'm on blackmail. Can you guys help me?
Mm-hmm.
I'll pay you a lot of money.
And we did, and we got paid a lot of money.
So you guys, you guys might start changing Toba. Who knows?
Possibly.
It's a very fun character.
I would love to.
But yeah, he's been fun. You guys have met Tashar.
I mean, it's always fun to see the impact of what our party can do in a D&D game, you know?
Yeah, especially when you go down those certain routes, because sometimes you meet characters who you meet how they normally are. It's like, this is their situation, you're meeting them with all of their walls up, so they might come off as an asshole or rude, or they don't care about you because they have all those walls. But it's like, what happens when you save that noble's sister and he's like, holy shit, like, she's my pride and joy, like, thank you so much. And you just get to see the actual character without the years of like
high society
courting and like friendship, and just being like, well, no, I've saved your most prized possession, and now you don't owe me anything, but now you see me as,
a savior,
because I've just saved this thing. And so
it's very interesting.
You guys I'm very excited for it. in the next session or two, things begin to open up a bit more, and I get to throw a bit more quest at you guys and see which one you want to take first.
Yeah.
Because right now we just have contracts, so it's just like, there's a certain limit, but you can't do illegal things with contracts. So we're about to get to the opening up point where it's like, oh, this NPC wants something, this NPC wants something.
Which is going to be incredibly fun, because then we get to meet more people to like mess around with.
You started your toe in getting some Thrawn, which is my magical currency. But we're about to open up where it's like, hey, I need this thing. Can you get it for me? And you're like, this is so illegal. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Which, our party's a little greedy too, honestly, so...
It's, okay, find me a D&D party that's not greedy. Because
you gotta be paid for our jobs. We're putting our lives on the line.
Like a trade, you have to get paid for doing things, and this is the only job that really gets deadly.
Yeah.
So, of course, you want to get paid for doing things, and everything in this job requires money, health potions, magic items, spell scrolls, like everything.
Yeah.
So when you're paid little, you're like, I want to do more things, I need to get paid more.
Yeah.
So.
And that's why it's like, we always get really upset with people who disrespect that as well, because it's not just, we're just doing our daily work of like putting stuff there. It's like, no, we're risking our lives. We're having to pay for a lot of gear. We're having to do a lot just so we can make sure people are safe.
Yeah.
And you're disrespecting that. And that pisses at least me off.
Oh, yeah. That's why when Toba had a contract for 15 clogs, which is the third tier of my currency, and when you guys met him, he kind of was in a shit show. He was in the mid-fight of a boss, and he was like, I'll pay you double the contract to help me.
Which would have been 30.
Which would have been 30, so you guys were already like, fuck yeah! Like, more, like, literally just double the contract. And put it in perspective, our players had like 3 or 4 clogs on them, maybe 1 clog.
Oh, yeah.
Like
really, clogs are, like, big money.
It's like big money. And so, when you guys save him and then fast forward, and he starts to mention needing this golden spoon, which was his, you guys will learn, nickname for his son.
Yeah.
And when his son is threatened, and he goes, I'll give you the 100 clogs if you save him.
It was immediately like, all right, everyone on gear.
Yeah.
Like, we were not holding back.
Yes, it was very fun. And then one of our players was like, you just said 100 clogs. Pay us for the contract. And he's like, no. Like, thank you for saving me. You're not going to be an asshole about this.
Yeah, no.
Which is fair, though. It's very that character.
It's very that character.
But yeah, so it's been very fun. And the Mighty Nine has really put me back into that. And I didn't skip the beginning like I said I was going to. I actually sat through Calorie and that mini arc, and then now we're in All Fields with the Null Mine.
Like, it doesn't feel, that arc doesn't feel important, but it really gets you introduced to the characters.
Yeah.
Again,
It's definitely a good stepping stone. And then the Null Mine is obviously such a great dungeon.
Oh, yeah. Wonderfully done.
And so it's definitely put my mind into like, I've done some dungeons, the sewers was a dungeon, but like, that dungeon definitely had a story element to it, which is good. Yeah. So I have something upcoming that I get to do with that.
I'm very excited.
Which I'm excited to see, so. Mighty Nine!
Mighty Nine!
Still, to this day, Ford and Caleb are my 2 favorite.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For me, it's Ford and Jester. Caleb is a very close third.
Jester, I know in the beginning, is a bit too chaotic for me. She's a little bit too railroady at times. And I know later on, she hones that chaos into like...
She becomes the heart of the party.
Yeah, and like, she, when it is chaos that feels okay. In the beginning, it's a little bit like, I'm just doing shit for the sake of shit. And it's like, okay, it's funny, but also, I know we get honed later.
Yeah, it's the Grogstrong of the group. But it gets very fun.
And the stories are... I'm so excited to get back to Zadash, because that was so many years ago I listened to this.
Not story.
Oh my
entirely God. Is, like, Sam Riegel... Everyone's always giving him crap because he's the, like, funny haha guy. But man, does he hit you in the emotions.
He hits you. I mean, N.E.R.D. is a masterpiece. And I'm so excited because I know N.E.R.D. tells her story twice and lies each time.
I mean, even in Campaign 3, which isn't everyone's favorite right now, which I understand. It's not my favorite at all. But, like, FCG's got some really good moments. And he gets real emotional. And then, you know, when... Very big spoilers for Campaign 3. When he dies...
When he kills himself.
To save the others, it hits emotionally.
Yeah.
Like, it really does. Like, that little robot, you know, was... You know, it's like... FCG was the heart of the party for Tell's Bells. And so they don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
So now it's just kind of like... Dorian's back. Yay. Robbie Damon's there. But now it's... You can absolutely feel that absence, you know? Which has been very interesting to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, because I know we get to the stealing of the dodecahedron, the whole arc where they go steal the ladies' like things, and we get Chester with the gentleman's whole thing. Like, Zadash is such a critical opening of the story.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Ford gets his Cloven Crystal. Like it's
a big part for Campaign 2.
I probably will skip the moments where Laura goes into pregnancy and birth, because that is a really rough time for the party, just because story-wise, Matt was like, I can't stop telling the story, but we've just lost 2 members.
Yeah.
And then Molly Mock dies. I probably will watch the episode Molly Mock. I don't know. I just hate that. I just hate that whole mini arc, because I know Matt did the best he could, but you can clearly tell that he had like no direction for this mini arc, because Laura and Travis were just suddenly gone. And so it's like, they're taken. And now you guys have to fight people that are like clearly out of your league, but how are you not supposed to, because they've taken your 2 friends, and then it leads to a character death. And you get, you know,
it's hard, because without that character death and without that happening, the story would not go as good as it does.
I think we just lose 2 critical members of the party. You know, we lose Jester and we lose Ford, the heart and the voice of reason. And so it's just a very chaotic. It's Bo, it's Caleb, and Molly Mock. Then you get the Dwarven lady.
I don't remember her name.
Keg.
So
it just feels like an outlaw band. And it's like, God, what are we doing?
But that's kind of how, like, why Molly Mock's death hit so hard, and why I think it changed the direction that the party was going. Like, they needed a... like, slap to the face.
Like, you guys have to stop.
Because they were, you know, they were an outlaw band.
Yeah.
If you really look at it.
Yeah.
You know, they did some heroic stuff, but they were fully an outlaw band that then turned to heroes once they got that sense of loss.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was because of Molly Mock and his death that made them want to change for the better.
True.
So it's hard to skip.
I know it's just a weird time. I might skip an episode or 2 because it goes on for, I think, 3 or 4 episodes.
It goes on for a while.
But anyways, Paragons.
To the topic at hand. Now,
give me that definition.
I love me some Paragons. They are some of my favorite characters in media because they are usually portrayed as very good, heroic people. And if you know me, I love that heroic shit. But lately, I find when I talk about these characters, I'm usually talking in their defense. They're not as nuanced or as interesting as some other characters. You know, people will say stuff like that, which I call bull. Paragons are some of the most fascinating characters, not because they themselves are interesting, which they can be. But what they do to other characters around them that makes them the most interesting. So, you know, a paragon is somebody who, you know, by textbook definition, is somebody who performs extraordinary feats, like has extraordinary talents in some things. But when we're talking about like actual like book-written paragons, you know. We're talking about, specific, times. So, yeah. Sorry. Small delay. But we're talking about specifically, like, people who influence, people who are stubborn, and people who set a bar. For example, take Captain America. He is the leader of the Avengers. He's the hero that stands as the best symbol for what it means to stand for truth, justice, and the American way. Whatever that looks like anymore.
I could make a lot of political jokes.
Oh, yeah.
We won't.
While you can look at Cap as being a simple hero goody two-shoes, which he is. He's also simple in the way a sword is simple. Incredibly effective.
That's what... So, my always definition of paragons is, someone who does heroic things, but a paragon in my eyes is someone who upholds a value to the end of all things.
Yes.
Normally, they're good and righteous values. And I know we will talk about some examples later, but it is this character who essentially is a pillar of certain values, or even the group itself. Like, and like you said, they're like a sword. And to talk about what we talked about a little earlier on the episode, they're like the base of a perfume. Usually it's not very interesting by itself. It's like, okay, this is just a very simple base of a solvent. There's not much to it. And when you start to add things onto it, it begins to change the way it, in this example, smells.
Absolutely.
And, flavors a little bit.
I mean, there's a reason why in the Avengers movie, he stands in the way he does for Civil War, right? And no one is, like, questioning him or anything, and are like, yeah, of course he's doing this. He's Captain Goddamn America.
Yeah.
Like, he stands for his values, like, no matter what. And that's truly what paragons do. And if he didn't have the people around him, those values wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
It's because of what he does that makes those values matter. He's so good at it that he's had some villains reevaluate their own personal values when they're around him. He himself is just such a pillar of good that no one can ignore. And that's a very paragon trait. He's a pretty damn good example of a paragon. But also, what makes a paragon is their unwavering resolve to do what they think is right. Like you said, they stand for values. To be a rock against the river. Sometimes, something the story that the story and characters around them have to keep in mind. Once a paragon has made up their mind on what they think is right, good luck convincing them anything otherwise. Unless you show them like the most hard of proof that you have done something wrong, and they have like a third act of like reevaluation of everything.
Yeah.
But that's why one of the most interesting things you can do with paragon characters is make them villains. Frollo from The Hunchback of Notre Dame is a great example of a paragon villain.
Yeah.
Of note, I'm talking about the Disney version of the character, not the one from the book. I have not read the book, so I cannot say what I...
The movie does it so good.
The movie does it justice. In the movie, Frollo is a priest who is looked up to by the highest respect within Paris, who has a cause that he believes is right and ordained by God. Through that belief, he hunts down the gypsies, takes in a deformed boy to be locked away in a clock tower, and goes on a hunting spree for Esmeralda, who he has become obsessed with.
Yes.
Is he a good person? Hell no. But does he believe what he's doing is right? I would say absolutely. Not only that, but the whole story is shaped around his actions. because he is such a force because he is such a force that the story and the other characters cannot help but gravitate towards his actions, which is a very Paragon trait.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, and here, I argue, the crux of what makes a Paragon so important in stories. They inspire people.
You want to hear something interesting?
Absolutely.
I forget this, but Claude Frollo is, and it's said in the movies a couple times, he's a judge.
Oh,
he's not.
He was a priest. I thought he was a priest this entire time.
I think he's religious. Yeah, he's a religious zealot. But no, he is. Yeah, they paint him as kind of priest-like. Mm. But if you kind of pay attention, he doesn't wear or do anything with like Lord or God. He, is a religious zealot, so he asks, the Lord. But yeah, he's technically a partisan justice minister, which is someone in France who holds a cabinet position within the government of France. So it's almost worse that he is just a political figure who is just obsessed with almost genocide and this one woman.
Oh, yeah.
Who then uses the religious zealot
to justify
everything.
Believe that he's right.
Yeah. Because I was like, I couldn't remember, but I was like, I didn't think he was a priest.
I thought...
Because they always are like, they're like, Judge Frodo, the gypsy's gone. And he's like, what? Which I feel makes him a Paragon even more and is almost worse because he is supposed to be a member of society that upholds justice and the law.
Yeah.
And then has turned around and believes what he is doing is correct.
And if you really think about it, he holds those Paragon values. I mean, he inspires people, but he inspires people to commit a genocide.
Yeah.
It's... Paragons are forces of nature.
Yeah. Which I do have... we can talk about this later, but I do have a list of Paragons that I think are very interesting.
Oh, I'd love to. I'd like to get through my points, but then I would love to do that.
They talk about anime, comic books, films, mythology, which... The folklore mythology is so many characters from mythology.
Oh, yeah.
That's the verb. That's the bullet point. Mm-hmm. They don't give me any examples. They just say bullet point, so many characters.
I mean, Hercules, Perseus, you can go on and on. But yeah, they inspire people. Paragons, being the moral pillars that they are, bring out the best or worst in people by simply just existing. Mm-hmm. Superman is the apex moral standard within the DC universe. He has all the power in the world, and he chooses to do good not because of an oath or a need for vengeance or anything like that, but because he has the compassion to want to do what is right. There is a moment in the Justice League animated series where everyone believes Superman is dead. He's not, but people believe he is.
I'm positive.
And we're back. Okay. Superman. There is a moment in Justice League animated series where everyone believes Superman is dead. A funeral is held in his honor, and thousands of people come to pay respects. At one point, Martian Manhunter stands at the podium and gives a wonderful speech saying how lucky they were to know, and I quote, the immigrant from the stars who taught us all how to be heroes. Superman's presence was so powerful that it shaped how others thought a hero should be. And if that's not a Paragon, I don't know what is. Mm-hmm. In conclusion of all my points, Paragons aren't always complex or incredibly nuanced. They can be simple, good people doing good things. But the importance of people being good is just as good as people doing other things. Mm-hmm. To undermine them and what they bring is to undermine most stories.
Yeah.
We need moral standards, people to look up to and inspire us when we are at our lowest. And even if they're not always right, they at least give people an idea of what they want to be. Mm-hmm. I'll take hope over any edgy backstory any day.
Or the anti-hope, like what Frollo gives.
That too.
Because I think when you make a Paragon a villain, you almost get a grimdark story. Because it's how do you fight someone who is the pinnacle of that value.
Exactly.
When they are against you. And it's like, oh god. Well, okay. Alright, you ready for some examples?
Absolutely.
These are some fun ones. First of all, they talk about... I found this very interesting. They mentioned in one of the Spider-Man comics that a mugger kills a woman in an alleyway. And then a Punisher-style vigilante kills the mugger. Spider-Man only sees the vigilante kill the mugger and puts him in jail and questions why would he do something like this. We get the answer in a different timeline at the end of the comic book where it shows that the vigilante style kind of was a mini Paragon in upholding certain values, because in this alternate timeline the woman draws a knife and kills the mugger and kind of falls into she becomes that sort of thing. And so I was like, oh, that's interesting. But they do talk about Spider-Man, which I think is a Paragon sometimes, a good majority of times, but not every time.
I would argue he's a very good Paragon who has his hiccups.
Yes. Specifically, what makes Spider-Man in my eyes a very big Paragon, and they explain it very strongly, is that Spider-Man is a type of character, that upholds usually a very childlike, friendly, energetic energy. And is known for the sort of trope of, I'm fighting a villain, I'm fighting so that someone needs saved, and the one city which is kind of known for people not giving a shit about anyone else, New York City, has always been shown of a group of people come together to save this one person or to fend off the villain while Spider-Man's down, which is so classically New York, which is everybody is just doing their own shit and you don't pay attention to anything. And so that sort of inspiring, uplifting everybody, and it's no, for Spider-Man. And you're like, oh.
There's multiple times in the games and comics where people will come together for Spider-Man's aid because he does so much for that city. And the thing that I don't like that the newer movies have been doing recently is they don't really show him actually being a part of the city. He's called the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Because in the most recent Marvels, we've seen him go more galactic with his with his Superman nature. And even because it's really been just you don't really deal with him in New York City. It's he's in galaxies, and then
he's in this is a red and blue detailed diatribe. He's in a world that doesn't really need superheroes. They show a moment in one of the first Spider-Man movies of him genuinely trying to go around and help people and fight crime, but there's just nothing to do. And he's waiting on something to do. And the fact that they do that for a superhero movie is not how you're supposed to do it. Because it makes it to where saving people isn't the point. It's the villains that make it the point. And then the villains get killed off, and then you're waiting for the next villain. There should be stuff for these heroes to do.
That's what I definitely think the Tobey Maguire movies did very well. He just feels like kid who's just turned Spider-Man, and it's well, I guess I'm saving people.
And they show it off all the time that he's always saving people, no matter if it's villains or just muggers or a fire.
Okay, so that was because we were on comic books. I was I'll talk about those too. Animes and mangas. I completely didn't even think about this one. Naruto.
Oh yeah, he's such a paragon.
That man upholds so much. Truly just
the true power of friendship, ninjutsu way. Absolutely.
I would even say him and Ichigo. Ichigo's all about saving his friends and being that last standing. I will continue to fight. I will be the person that you can look towards.
He's more prickly paragon, but he's absolutely a paragon.
Yeah, he's less of a talker. He gives me more kind of Superman, which is there's not much to say. He just does what needs to be done. Superman's not making quitty whippy jokes.
He is actually, because he's a very smart reporter. They just leave that more to like, Flash or something like that.
Yeah.
But
I'm not saying he's not smart. He's just not making jokes often. When I see Superman, I see like a very quiet man who just does what is usually done.
A lot of like the animated series and stuff like that show him a lot more quippy. I think the more recent movies have shown him more stoic, which is not usually how Superman is. That's more of a Batman trait than Superman.
Yeah. Let's see what they say else. We've got some of these animes I don't know about. Griffith from Berserk.
Holy shit! Paragon gone wrong.
Yeah. We've got who's this? Oh, that's anime I don't know. Vegeta, Dragon Ball.
Interesting.
Ironically, Vegeta wants to invoke this towards the end of the Dragon Ball manga. When Goku suggests that Gotenk and Gohan, both of whom surpassed, should come and kill Buu. Vegeta tells him that it's humanity's turn to shoulder some responsibility and has all the humans share their energy with Goku.
I would argue that Goku's more of the paragon, even if he's not like really just doing good things for good. He's doing good things because
I don't really think Goku's a paragon because, again, paragons have to uphold their things. That's the difference where is it just main character or is it actually paragon?
Yeah.
And Goku, in my eyes, doesn't really uphold anything other than just being a main character.
That's fair.
Which will have...
Vegeta comes from villain turned to good paragon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's sometimes the debate is it just main character energy, which is wanting to do good, wanting to save people, or are they actually upholding a specialized value within themselves?
And Goku isn't necessarily like a hero. He just likes a good fight.
Now, two I really want to talk about. We'll do the first one because this one's kind of easy, but is fun because they turn wrong. The Ishtari from Lord of the Rings, the wizards.
Yeah.
They are... It's hard to not call them paragons because they are angels. They hold virtues of specialized things, and the gods, the Valar, literally sent them to help humanity remember these values. Four of the five essentially go corrupt or forget their paragon. The two blue wizards, we never hear anything about. They go off and do something. Radagast is a paragon for nature. He's supposed to uphold the nature value, uphold, the will of animals. But he's also supposed to save men, and he fails because he completely forgets, the race of men and just leaves them to do their own thing. And then Saruman is supposed to be the prime paragon. He's supposed to uphold everything. He's supposed to be the golden light, essentially. And he goes corrupt. He's corrupted by the One Ring, and he completely loses his way and turns against men. And we have the most beautiful, which is Gandalf, who is a paragon, and I think he's the paragon in the most beautiful sense of, I don't have too much power. Only time I dislike paragons is when they're shown a step above everyone else.
Yes. That's not how they're supposed to be.
Which is not how they're supposed to be, but that's kind of sometimes how they're shown, which is you're the paragon, so you're kind of above everybody, and everybody's looking towards you. And it's hey, it's okay to do that sometimes if the story feels right. But I like the paragons like Captain America, who are on the field with their allies. And Gandalf fights tooth and nail with his friends, and gives his life up for it.
And you see, that's why I come in so much defense of, Superman. It's because everyone... there's a lot of people who hate Superman because and it's that same kind of he's such on a pedestal, he's like God, he's got all this stuff and he's not interesting. He's no, Superman's the facade. Clark Kent is actually the dude who's really the good and moral. He's just a normal farm boy.
Yeah.
Superman is more of his, I gotta go to work, honey, kind of clothes.
Yeah.
But Clark Kent is the actual man behind that, and he's a genuinely good person who grew up in Kansas and is just trying to do his best, and is super smart. People always forget that too. I always come to bat for Superman. He's a good boy.
And we see Gandalf actually is rewarded for staying as a paragon and essentially becomes more powerful.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Ishtari, I love so much, because it is that they were supposed to be paragons, and a majority of them, almost all of them, fail. Saruman, the Blue Wizards, Radagast, all fail, and that's where Gandalf kind of has to deal with, well, how are you as a paragon having to condemn other paragons? It's a very tough thing. We see it in the books and the movies. Gandalf's confrontation with Saruman, where he becomes Gandalf the White, and it's just like, you failed. Like, there's no other way to say it. Like, Saruman, you have failed. We were supposed to be essentially paragons for the race of men and for this world, and you've just done everything against that. It's a very sad thing for Gandalf to have to do.
Yeah, and they play it as much. They don't sugarcoat it.
No, it's hard not to see it because of what. It's easier to see with Saruman because of what he's doing. You know, it gets much more difficult when it's Radagast and theoretically the Blue Wizards, but we don't ever see them. And Tolkien almost writes nothing about them. They just go off into the mountains. I think they make a school but they essentially fall under the control of Sauron. But yeah, Gandalf deals a lot with Radagast and the Hobbits, and it's this like, he actively is just not helping humanity. He's just there for nature, which some could argue would be a Paragon-esque nature, but he was supposed to be for all. He was supposed to be for humanity and also be a voice for nature, but just got too enamored with it. But yeah, I love Gandalf. The next one they make very interesting, which it's hard not to agree with, just never thought about, Jesus. In the Testament.
Yeah,
it really, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
That man upholds a certain value. He dies for his cause, for what he believes is right. You know, he never once really condemns people, or... Because I think that's big...
Talking about Lord Jesus.
Lord Jesus. I think that's a big part of good paragons, is they are not the people to condemn others for different or opposing values. No. They just say, this is what I believe, this is the values I hold. I'd like to keep it, I'd like to inspire others, but if people deem that as wrong, or if people, want to fight against it, I'm not going to tell them they're wrong.
Yeah. And that's why I've made it known I'm not a fan, but it's not because of him specifically, or even the ideals of Christianity. It's because there are a lot of corrupt people who use his name to condemn when he would never, So to me, it's always been like, you are using this as power, and that's not right. So.
Yeah, so I was like, that was a very interesting one, but honestly, it makes
sense.
It makes sense. They talk about tabletop games. Some of them are just people. Video games. There are some few interesting ones. Okami. They have. Forgive me on the pronunciation. Amaterasu. The main wolf that you play, and how she is just kind of.
She's the sun god.
But it's that thing is, she loses her pedestal above everybody and becomes sort of that paragon just because she's with everybody. Yeah. She upholds her values still.
She's a great paragon.
I was like, that one's very interesting. They talk about Baldur's Gate, the Throne of Baal, but they don't really mention anything else. They do, actually very interesting. If you play Dragon Age Origins, the dwarves literally have paragons.
Oh, yeah.
They call them paragons themselves. This one makes sense. The main characters from Persona 3 and 4. That's literally the whole social link.
But they're also quiet characters and stuff.
The paragons don't have to be loud-voiced characters.
That's fair.
I mean, like we said before, a lot of paragons aren't required to be very vocal about their thing. They just have to uphold it.
And they definitely do.
Let's see. There's some other ones that are like, eh. Oh, this one. Eventually in my life, I will play the Mass Effect series.
I want to as well.
Commander Shepard. Yeah. I've heard that series is great. I know it's a good series. Eventually, I will get the time to play all three of them. I know I would also love them too.
Oh yeah,
because I love the Dragon Age worlds. I love that kind of play style, the semi-combat, semi-role play.
No, I know they're phenomenal games, and I need to play them as well. But yeah.
But yeah, that was the list. I just looked up Paragons, and it's just a little tiny list of like different types of tropes, different characters we see.
Yeah, and there's all types, and a lot of people love them, and there's a lot of good values to Paragons. But I've just had a lot of conversations recently where I've had to defend them, and so I was like, you know what? Coming on the podcast to our non-viewers and gonna spiel my spiel about how much I love Paragons.
Actually, can I find a evil Paragon list?
I'm sure. There are definitely some.
Oh, there's definitely some. I just want to see if I can find... I want to see if I can find a list of, like, evil Paragons.
Mm-hmm.
I hate the argument that Paragon characters are not able to become or be evil. Characters who symbolize some ultimate symbol of good, virtue, stuff like that. It's the same formula.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Paragons can be so interesting because what they are just people who hold a value so strongly, that they believe in it so much that they're going to do anything for it. That's what a paragon is.
Ooh. So this is just someone's perspective. This is someone's reasoning. They say the thing with Paragons is that the thing with a Paragon is not that they can't be evil, but they choose not to be actively in every time. When they offer to deal with the devil, they tell the devil to fuck off and go and succeed anyways.
Yeah.
However, once the choice to be evil is made, it's game over. The character ceases to be a Paragon.
Yeah.
So their explanation is that if you have an evil Paragon, it has to be from a character who's believe, at least by themselves, that they have not chosen evil.
Yeah.
Like Frollo, that's such a great example of he believes in his eyes he's doing good.
He's doing incredibly
and he's
good.
doing justice.
In his eyes.
Yeah. Because it's very. How do you have something that is classically good and for the sake of life and upholding good values go evil and still uphold that sort of same feeling?
For sure.
Let me see if I because that was very interesting. Brandon Sanderson has
nice.
a free course in which he talks about.
I'm not surprised that he talks about this kind of stuff. That makes a lot of sense. Especially since Dalinar Corlin is such a paragon. He's such a paragon.
Kind of really doesn't say much in that, but that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting. I would love to make a paragon villain.
Oh, yeah.
And see what makes them good.
Because all they have to do is just believe in something that they think is right.
Mm-hmm.
I love those types of villains. I enjoy making them. It's just it's a good time.
Yeah.
Well, I am out of points and things to say about it other than, hey, love your Paragons.
I really just want to see if I can find
a villain list.
Yeah.
I don't know if somebody has made a villain list of Paragons.
It's very
that's a very niche
kind
of thing.
Because people are like, yeah, Paragons are people who help others, show like how to help themselves, upholds virtues that inspire and create people. It's like, how do you create a villain version of that?
Well, that's where you get Dark Empires.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
That's where you get dictatorships. That's where you get stuff like that.
Oh my God, was Hitler a Paragon?
I want to say no. You gotta look up, was Hitler a Paragon? I want to say no because I think he was just more of an absolute bastard who killed a lot of people.
Yeah, but I would say the same thing for Griffith.
Yeah, I would too. You're not wrong.
We'll figure this out. Oh, wait. The question of whether Adolf Hitler was a paragon is a complex and controversial one. Leader of the Nazis. First of all, fuck Hitler. Just to make sure
just to make sure.
Most serious, devastating effects. Obviously, his mental state was weird. Depends on one's perspective. While some may view him as an evil mastermind, others emphasize the systematic factors and societal complicity that allows him to rise to power. As in any historical figure, understanding Hitler's complexity requires understanding multiple angles to avoid oversimplification.
That's fair.
Because I will say, when you define someone as a paragon, you do simplify them.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Gandalf doesn't... He is complex in a sense, but he is also just a very simple character.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Superman, Captain America, they are not very complex, really interesting, or, like, really dynamic, like, mindsets. It's very, like, I am this because of this. Like, there's one path. So maybe that's an interesting way of... That's how you do... like evil paragons, is it's not, you know, they're good but they're bad, they're evil but they're good. It's like, no, they follow this path
and they believe it's right,
and there are people that believe it's right, because you can't have a solo paragon with no one believing in them. Like, that's, if the main thing is to uphold a value and inspire others, there has to be people they inspire,
whether that be good for bad.
Very interesting.
Yep. All in all, paragons are way more interesting than people give it credit for. You know, enjoy your paragons. I enjoy them.
Make a paragon.
You know, for people who are like in a tabletop setting, you know, and you're like, oh, I don't like paragons. Maybe try playing one. See how it feels, because, like, you know, again, paragons can be more than just, oh, truth, justice, and the American way. You know, they can be complex, and they can be interesting. You just have to uphold a value that you believe in strongly.
Yeah. Look up virtues and see what, you know. Weirdly enough, truth, justice, and like the American way, I feel like most paragons don't uphold truth. It's mostly just justice.
Usually.
I would love to see a character that upholds truth, like, to a paragon level.
To a fault, yeah.
To a fault. Like, just... you know, searches for truth, refuses to lie because they believe that's, you know, wrong. Like, just truth and truth and truth, and see what that would look like in a party.
Yeah. I think it'd be interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah, play paragons. Write paragons. Enjoy what they bring, because they can bring a lot to your world. And don't push them out just because you don't, you know, find them interesting. Yeah. Because you never know. I mean, the comic strip of what is it? It's the edgy comic strip that everyone fucking brings up all the time. Fucking
I don't know.
I don't know either. But it's the guy who makes, like, usually Superman comics. He basically made The Watchers or something like that. Yeah.
I don't know.
You don't know comics.
I don't know comics.
But The Watchers, I can't remember exactly what they're called. But they're usually considered like, oh man, they're edgy, they're cool, this is what, you know, comics you should be like, you know. But basically that person who made that comic, who made like a bunch of Superman comics, was like, I just basically made it to where they don't have their paragon. And what would that look like?
Are you talking about The Boys?
No, it's definitely not The Boys.
I really don't know what it's about. But yeah, that's actually that's a great thing. Like, you know, what happens when you remove those paragons?
And it didn't go well for anyone.
It's that classic example of what happens when you, like we've talked about before with Critical Role, what happens when you remove the heart of the group? How does it find a new one, or does it just crumble?
Because they're the moral standard. Yeah. So. All right. Well, that's all my points.
Anyway, and I have no idea what I'm doing next week, so.
We'll see where it goes.
See where it goes.
All right.
Till next week.
Till next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.